Woo! Okay, there we go. There we go. I got too excited, went for the clap, and my microphone fell off. But we are good to go. I am so excited to be here at Laracon India. This is my first time at Laracon India, and it's just been so incredibly overwhelming. I'm just super excited to be here on this stage, but also being able to get to talk to every single one of you, because this is just truly a dream come true. For those who don't know me, my name is Josh Cirre, and so just like your iPhone, if you have one, and I am DevRel for Laravel. And what that means is, well, really, it's just a dream job for me. But what that means is I get to take funny pictures like this and just call it a job, you know. So the cool thing is, actually the funny thing is, my wife knocks on my office door every now and then, and she opens it up, and she sees me taking pictures like this, you know, like, and I get to be like, hey, come back, honey, I'm working right now, okay? And she just doesn't understand it really. So here's my encouragement and maybe challenge for you today. The next time you take a selfie with someone, whether that's myself or someone like from the Laravel team or a new friend, you have to make a thumbnail face like this one, okay? So you and the person you're taking a selfie with have to make a thumbnail face. That is my challenge to you. Understood? Say yes. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Well, yes, I do all of this stuff, and I make faces, and I call it working, but really, what do I actually do? Well, I get to help the Laravel team with content and support, and I get to enjoy every second of it, and it truly is a dream job. I'm truly grateful to be here on this stage, but also with all of you all in this wonderful community that we call Laravel. And like I said, it's my first time here at Laracon India, but it's also my first time in India, and so I'm super excited to be here. And the crazy thing is, they let me speak for the first time the start of the second day. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy to me. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I am not a morning person, so I kind of didn't get that much sleep because I was a little bit nervous for talking today, and then I rolled out of bed, and I came over here, but we are going to start the day off right, okay? And starting the day off right means getting to take a lot of selfies. I did that last night. We had a fun party last night. I danced. I did all of the moves. My calves were killing me for a little bit. I am not in shape for that, so if you guys do that every day, I am not ready for that. But I'm going to do it tonight. Whatever kind of dancing we're having, I'm ready for it. But this is how much fun I had. Oops. Yeah, I was supposed to add a selfie here, but I didn't take one. So why don't we take one together, actually? So I'm going to pull out my phone, and we're going to take a selfie in the room together, okay? So here, let's go ahead and do that. So on the count of 3, we're going to do this. Ready? Lights on. If we can get the lights on, that would be fantastic. If not, that's okay too. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Awesome. I'm actually going to throw this in my notes real quick so you all can see your lovely faces as well. So while I'm talking about that, the second day is truly incredible for me. I have had such a pleasure of being here, and it's really been awesome for me to be able to say, okay, everything that I've been able to do and work here at Laravel, being at Laracon India is definitely one of my top moments. Probably top 3, if not top 1, because I don't know if I can ever top this as well. So let me go ahead and throw this picture on in here because you all look fantastic. Let's see. Bam. Bam. Okay, and we'll go ahead and click play. There we go. Awesome. You guys look great. Let me make sure I have this still set up the right way. There we go. Awesome. You guys look great. Woo. So starting is hard. Starting the start of a talk is hard. Starting the start of a conference day is hard. I have a lot of nerves, and you guys are making it fantastic. Starting your day is hard. I don't know about you, but I am not a breakfast person. It's been a little different at Laracon India because I think my the nerves combined with the jet lag. I'm just really hungry in the morning more than I normally am. Probably because it's like 8 p.m. my time when I'm ready for breakfast. But is there anyone else like me who just doesn't do breakfast? You just like, I'm not a breakfast person. I just don't do breakfast. Okay, there's a few of you. I like it. But every now and then I think to myself, the problems that I have whenever I come into my work, or if I'm making a video and I just stumble over my words, would that be solved by actually having breakfast? Is that the solution to everything? Because everyone used to tell me growing up, and still to this day, breakfast is the most important part of your day. You got to start your day off well, people. You got to start your day. You got to make sure you start your day right. You got to make sure you get your important meal of the day. All of these things. But I think to myself, I don't really care. I don't do breakfast. And okay, starting is hard. Breakfast is hard, but then every now and then I roll into my office, I start making a video, I pull up Laravel, and then I see this screen. And I think to myself, okay, maybe if I had those the teplas or the poha, maybe. Thank you. Maybe if I had those for breakfast, I would have remembered that I should have removed the 222 after the SQLite for the database connection string, and then we would have been good to go. So maybe breakfast is important, but okay, I digress, because the most important part of the day, okay, maybe for some of us it's breakfast, so that we don't come into errors like this, but for some of us, and me, myself, and I think all of us artisans here, the most important part of the day, the best way to start the day, the pinnacle of the day is when we run Laravel new. And it's so exciting to me. In fact, it's probably the best way to start your day before breakfast. Does anyone actually run Laravel new today already? Anyone? No hands, no hands. I did because I was preparing for the talk, so that doesn't count. But Laravel new is really crazy, right? There's so much amazing things that are kind of baked into that command in and of itself. And I looked up the stats on Composer packages. Over the last 30 days, over 8,401,832 packages were installed. Laravel new was run that many times. 8,401,832 installs. Just over the last 30 days alone. And yes, I'm here to talk about the new starter kits, but it's crazy that they just came out like 2 weeks ago. So it just came out less than 10 days ago, and when I pulled these stats, they were only out for like 10 days, and already they had been installed over 50,000 times. Crazy. Was any one of the go ahead. Was any one of you one of those people, like one of those 50,000 who installed one of the new starter kits? I count, if you count for more than one, keep your hand up. If you count for more than 10, keep your hand up. I like to try everything out really a lot, so I probably installed it maybe, 25,000 times. But yeah, there's so much baked into those starter kits. There's so much baked into this 50,000 plus number. And the goal of this talk is not to convince you to use the starter kits, okay? So you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief if that's what you're thinking I was going to tell you today. The goal of this talk isn't even necessarily to tell you to use a starter kit. The goal of this talk is not to convince you that these new starter kits are better than Breeze or Jetstream, even though I think they do, in my personal opinion, provide a better starting point at some point in time. But the goal of this talk is meant to convince you to start. So, here we go. Let's start off this talk. You're like, oh, you've already been talking for like 10 minutes. How are we starting off this talk? Yeah, let's start off this talk the right way. How do we start the day How do we start our day, whether that's with Laravel New, whether that's with breakfast? How do we start this time together? And the first thing I want to do is tell you about my starter story. Because, and this isn't going to be a personal story, this is actually my starter story to Laravel. I am not like many of you. I actually have only been shipping with Laravel for about 3 years, maybe even less than 3 years. In fact, you might be surprised when the first version that I shipped with Laravel was Laravel v9. And so I wasn't familiar with Laravel before that. I mean, I was because I had heard of it, but I hadn't actually written any code in Laravel until Laravel v9. And my production app, the first one that I shipped, was Laravel v10. So when I started getting into Laravel, I heard of this thing called Breeze and Jetstream, and really I heard about Laravel because they provided so much options for you out of the box. And all of the applications that I was building, all the frameworks I was building with, it was crazy because there wasn't anything kind of given to me out of the box. There wasn't any authentication. There wasn't any database connection for the most part. I had to kind of piece those parts together with the tools that I was previously using. And so I wouldn't have been able to ship my first product. I wouldn't have been able to ship and start my journey on learning to code better, I should say, if it wasn't for Laravel and if it wasn't for starter kits. So without further ado, let's jump into some code. So, oops, I didn't want to do that. Let's jump into some code. So we'll go ahead and there's all of our pictures. We'll jump into Laravel New. So I'm going to say this is Laravel New Laracon. And I want to install, for today's purposes, we're going to use the Livewire Starter Kit. All of the things in these starter kits are pretty much one-to-one identical use cases within these starter kits because they're meant to give you the starting point from start to finish, regardless of which language you choose here. So I'm going to use Laravel. We're going to use built-in authentication. I'm going to choose to use Volt, but you have that option. It's crazy. And then I'm going to use Pest for testing. And really the goal of this is not to show you every single aspect of the starter kit, but a few things of like how incredibly awesome it is to be able to modify starter kits for your particular use case. So while this is downloading, I'm going to make sure I have this snippet pulled up and we're good to go. Let's go ahead and run npm install, and you can see that this is a fresh install, so we're doing everything live. Let's go into cd Laracon. I'm going to run composer, run dev. So before we even open our code, why don't we open this in our browser? There we go. Laravel 12. It's incredible. I love this new starter page, but let's go ahead and register a new user. So I'm going to say my name. I'm going to say josh@laravel.com. I'm not going to tell you my password, but it's just password for now. Here in this starter kit is what you would expect from any starter kit. Basically, the ability to have a blank slate with the options that you have. But we can make this a little better for our purposes today, right? Well, of course, we do have the ability to have dark and light mode without having to change anything, and this is for all of the starter kits. It's great, but why don't we actually dump into the code and change something? Because this is great if we wanted a Laravel Starter Kit application, right? But most of our products or SaaSes or even just our side projects that we're using, we're not going to call it Laravel Starter Kit. So why don't we make that change first of all? I'm going to jump into my code editor, and let's say in our app logo, I'm going to say, maybe I'll just go like this. And we'll jump back in, and there, Laracon India. Woo! And the cool thing is, I did this beforehand, so it actually works in dark mode too. But this is how crazy it is to be able to change something super small. And yeah, I already had that saved to be able to copy and paste. But the starter kits make it easy to find the things that we need to find when we're wanting to change something. What I changed there was in this app-logo.blade.php. We have an app-logo.icon if we wanted to change this on the authentication page. Why don't we even change something when we create a new user just to see how easy it is, because the code lives in your project. This is not something that you're grabbing something from Laravel and you're like, oh, now I have to work with this and figure out a way to modify my own preferences and opinions and use cases to be able to do what I need to do. No, the code just lives in here. If I was to go into the web routes folder, we see everything that we would expect. We see a dashboard route. We see middleware with auth. And the cool thing is, if I just wanted an application, and I do this all the time when I'm starting a new project, if I just wanted an application to be able to just say, hey, I want Livewire, but I don't even need authentication, I don't even need users, I'll just do this and immediately delete everything. And then I just have Livewire already installed if I need to use it on the front page. I think that's the goal that I want to kind of portray to you this morning, is knowing that starter kits aren't necessarily meant to give you the ability to say, here's everything that you might need for your project, but it is meant to say, hey, here's an easier way to start. Why don't we modify one more thing? I'm going to go into the register page, and it's one of these new things in the tech world, and whether you agree with it or not, some people are not putting password confirmation in their register form. So why don't we remove that? I'm going to remove the required validation from our password, and then I'm just going to, down here, we have a flux input of password confirmation. You can see here we even have easy kind of like notes telling you, hey, this is confirm password field. I'm just going to remove that. And now in the browser, if I was to log out, we're going to register, and now we don't have a confirm password field. It was as simple as that to change something that is now affected for all of our users. So yes, starter kits are modular. We have the ability to now create new users for us. But the starter kits are not just meant to give you a base starting point. And the starter kits, oops, what did we do? Password field confirmation does not match. Let's go ahead and check. So in our register, we have validate, we have password string. Oops, it is required. I removed the required one, but not the confirmed. Yep, exactly. I removed required but not confirmed. That's what I get there. Okay, we're going to make it required but not confirmed. And now we'll refresh. Now we can add a new user. And now we can create a new user without confirming our password. Again, all of this is meant to show that it is super simple to change these things, regardless of if we have opinions of like, hey, I don't really need this or I don't really need that. Well, it's easy to change. It's meant to be a base starter kit. But you might have seen on Twitter in the last couple of days, Taylor Otwell actually teased something new for starter kits. And one of the things that I love about starter kits, I actually created my own starter kit before these new starter kits were released. It's called Fission. It was mostly because I was creating new demo applications all the time. And I wanted a way to be able to say, hey, here's everything I usually do when creating a new demo application. I need login and authentication. I need just a page to be able to put a Livewire component. And so I created this, which is basically my own version of what I need for 90% of applications. Livewire Folio, Livewire Volt, Livewire Flux. It's meant for my own use cases. But 131 stars already, which is crazy for me. And people have already used this. In fact, the Laracon Connect app is using this starter kit. That blows my mind. But the thing is, Taylor and the Laravel team have realized your own preferences, your own opinions, your own starter kits are valuable and are useful. So why don't we actually use Laravel New to use additional starter kit? I came across this Svelte starter kit, which basically is a kind of a one-for-one rebrand of the React and Vue starter kits that the Laravel official provides. It's created, I'm going to butcher the name, but it's created by this guy named Osuego. And we're going to actually install it right now. So I'm going to pull up my snippets. I'm going to go to the Svelte starter, and we're going to say new Laracon Svelte. Oops, we're going to do this in our code directory though. New Laracon Svelte using, and then we can pass a GitHub repo. The cool thing about this is you can check the Svelte or you can check the React or Vue starter kits for kind of how you would want to modify this. But as long as you have a .env.example, as long as in your package, as long as in your composer.json, you have the ability to add additional scripts right here to say in your post create project command, I want to do X, Y, or Z. That's all you need for this new composer or new Laracon. This Laravel new Laracon-Svelte, we're going to use this particular repo. Here's what that looks like. Oh, I did not use the new Laravel installer. There we go. Okay. Laracon new, Laracon Svelte using this particular GitHub repo starter kit. And what this is going to do is run Laravel new based off of that GitHub repo. So one that is not an official Laravel one that is built by members of the community. And the cool thing is, in a short time, probably Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday actually, it's going to be in your hands to be able to say, now I have my own personal preferences, I have my own starter kit, I have a community starter kit that I want to use, and instead of having to figure out how to clone that repo and then run a install command, in fact, in my starter kit, I did this crazy thing called a install bash script where, because I didn't want to run all of these commands all at once and kind of do all this whole workaround, now I can just run Laravel new using, and all of a sudden we have that Laracon Svelte using a community starter kit up and running. So if I was to run composer run dev and open this one up, we have a Svelte starter kit out of the box. And this is a community starter kit. This is not something that I built, I just used it. And so the new Laravel new is going to have the option to use it as well. So let's go ahead and take a step back. Why, when we think about starting is hard, right? We kind of already emphasized this, and whether it's getting up out of bed, whether it's pressing snooze on the alarm, whether it's making sure you eat the correct and proper meal of the day, whether it's pressing Laravel new and creating a new starter kit, whether it's using your own personal preferences in a starter kit, starting is hard. And in fact, there's a reason why we've been chanting this chant that Taylor kind of emphasized and portrayed to us at Laracon EU, where we've been able to chant it here today at Laracon India, the chant of we must ship. So Laravel wants to give you the tools to do just that. Laravel wants to give you the tools to ship, but the tools are not the only part of the solution. The tools are only just one small little piece of the solution. The starter kits that you have are only one small little piece of the solution. So why starter kits? First off, the starter kit just means something to start with. It's a small little piece of the solution that within the official Laravel ones has nice components, has preferences on how to use auth, has preferences on even things like middleware, has preferences on things like rate limiting, even things that you don't have to think about. You have the ability to build your own and let others use it, just like I used that Svelte starter kit that I did not build, I just used. I've already tried several other starter kits. I mean, Pushpak, who's going to be speaking today, has his own Larasonic starter kit. In fact, I was talking to Tharva yesterday, and he had used the Filament starter kit, if you want to call it that, to be able to ship a project for on Laravel Cloud for his daughter, kind of like a journal. There's so many ways to start, there's so many ways to use starter kits, and there's so many options. And the cool thing is, it's all about you your preferences and how you like to work. When it comes to starter kits, you might think, okay, I just want a completely base one. Okay, well, then let's do that. Or, okay, I might want let's like using filament. Okay, well, let's do that. Well, maybe starter kits just give you a way with the React or Vue ones from the Laravel official team. Maybe they give you a way to learn React or learn Vue or learn, here's one for me, learn TypeScript, because the new React and Vue ones are TypeScript out of the box, and I'm not that great at TypeScript. So it's going to be an option for me to be able to learn TypeScript together. In fact, maybe these starter kits, whether you choose to use the official ones or you choose to use ones that you've built, maybe these starter kits are how you're going to launch your next project today. Maybe these starter kits are how you're going to launch your next project tomorrow or next week. Or maybe the time Laracon India rolls around next year, you'll be at 10K MRR because of these starter kits. So, starter kits are useful. They are tools in your belt, but the whole premise of using them, regardless of if you choose to use just a Blade one, or if you choose to use the official ones with Livewire, Vue, or React, or you choose to use one that you've already built and now you have the option to do that, it's meant to just start. So the goal is to start easier. The goal is to start better. To start today, to start tomorrow, but just start. So the Laravel new install package, like I mentioned, has over 8,401,832 installs just in the last 30 days alone. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. It's wild. And regardless of if you are one of those or 50 of those or none of those, it doesn't really matter, because the crazy thing is if you break it down to even more less time in the last week alone, actually not even the last week alone, the last day alone, there's been over 339,662 installs just in the last 24 hours. That's crazy. But here's the thing. There's only one you. So what does it look like to just start? Thank you so much.
Hello. Perfect.
Hello.
Wow. So, did you enjoy?
I enjoyed it. It was amazing. These people are wonderful. You guys are great. Thank you.
Perfect. So, a lot of people ask different questions, but before that, I would like to invite Mohammad Zubair Khan just to come here. Meanwhile, we have question answers. So, a lot of people asked different questions from different tweets that about starting, like when they want to start as a beginner.
Yeah.
How do they start, and what are the recommendations they should have?
I think the best way to start as a beginner is to have a problem that you are ready to solve. So when I've come up against specific ways of learning something, regardless of if I want to be like, oh, I want to learn Livewire, I want to learn React or Vue or TypeScript, the easiest way to kind of tackle that problem is to make sure you have another problem that's even bigger than that. Oh, I want to make a journal for my daughter, like a Tharva. Well, then go ahead and find the way to do that. And if that's using Filament and that's the first time you've used Filament, then do that. If you want to say, I want to make, I don't know, a to-do list that my family can use. And so it's going to be this complicated process of, okay, a whole bunch of people are logged into this one application. Well, now you have the ability to learn something new because of that problem.
Yeah, otherwise you get confused what to use, what not to use.
Exactly.
First you have to find the problem and then you create a pathway and then you go forward.
Yep. Yeah. If you find the problem first, it's going to be a lot easier to find the solution to get there.
Yeah. Second question is more like he wants to get an idea about especially performance point of view compared to other starter kits, and also wanted to compare with the Python's Django or Flask. So he want to get suggestions then that if using the starter kit, especially for the high traffic, what are the suggestions or recommendation?
Yeah, I think the starter kits provide a great option, whether that's the official ones or ones that you've seen. The starter kits provide a great option to be able to have those options where it's Laravel opinions at its core. And so regardless of if you're using it as an API or you're just using it as a login infrastructure, it gives the opinions of what several people, Taylor included, how they have built and shipped Laravel applications. So it's a great way to even learn from, regardless of if you use any of the code itself.
Because when you compare and validate with others, then you confuse yourself.
Exactly.
So again, coming back to the base, like finding the problem and then you sort the solution.
Yep.
So perfect. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.